All right, in this explainer, we're going to try something ambitious. We're going to get inside the brain of Bill Gates. Using a recent, really wide-ranging interview, we're going to explore what drives the man who, basically shaped our digital world and is now trying to fix some of its biggest problems.
So let's just dive right in with this quote because it perfectly captures the intensity where it all began. This idea of being a maniac, it's a fascinating thread that we're going to follow to see how that focused energy has changed over time from building Microsoft to, well, everything he's doing now.
Okay, so first up, let's look at how he sees the world. And we're starting with a place he thinks is a massive hub for the future, India. Gates is convinced it's become a true hotbed for innovation.
You know what's really interesting is that Gates thinks if you're actually living there, you might not even realize just how big the change has been. He says you almost have to step away and then come back to really get it, to appreciate the, quote, fantastic level of entrepreneurship and just the explosion of new ideas happening.
And this really shows you it's not just about, grabbing tech from other places. Gates is pointing to specific areas where India is now a leader in invention, from these incredible vaccine partnerships to using AI in healthcare and schools. But the key thing here, the real game changer, is this focus on creating frugal, scalable solutions. Ideas that don't just work for India, but can be rolled out all over the world.
All right, so from how he views the world, let's pivot to something way more personal. How does a guy with this much money think about wealth and family and legacy? Well, he's got a very clear philosophy he calls wealth without dynasty.
So check this out. This one number, it says everything. Less than 1%. That's the slice of his massive fortune that his kids are going to inherit. And that's not just a number, right? It's a huge statement about his core beliefs on what gives a life purpose.
And this is where Gates draws a huge line in the sand. He argues that a lot of tech entrepreneurs just think differently. They're less dynastic. Instead of just passing down the profits every year, they're much more aggressive about giving away the base capital itself, all of it, for maximum societal impact. And here's the why behind it, and it's actually pretty personal. He genuinely believes that just handing his kids an unimaginable fortune would actually do them a disservice. It would totally overshadow anything they could ever achieve on their own. He wants to give them the room to build their own lives to feel the pride of their own success.
Okay, so if all that money isn't going to his family, where is it going? It's aimed squarely at society. So let's look at the future challenges he's focused on, the big risks, and the huge hopes that are shaping his work.
You might think he's got a laundry list of 100 things, but he's actually narrowed it down to a surprisingly short list. It's basically a handful of things that he thinks will either make or break humanity's future.
And here's that list. It's kind of wild, right? AI is right there at the top. He sees it as this totally new thing that's going to change, well, everything. But he's also just as focused on these other massive hurdles, stopping the next pandemic, nuclear war, bioterrorism, and of course, climate change. It's a very clear-eyed, pragmatic checklist.
And to give you an idea of just how big he thinks this AI moment is, he compares it to the early days of software. Back then, he says, it was just this small group of people who the rest of the world thought were kind of crazy. Today, AI is a full-on global race. It's way more competitive, with thousands of companies all over the world, including China, getting incredible results. The game is just bigger, faster, and more global.
Okay, so we've talked about the world's problems. Now let's get back inside his head. Back to that whole maniac's mindset thing we started with. What is the personal code that actually drives him?
He looks back on his 20s working these insane hours, and he doesn't regret it at all. He actually says it was exactly the right thing for that time. He even remembers telling competitors who complained he worked too hard, "Yes, I do." That singular, relentless focus, that was his edge.
But what's really interesting is what he fears now. It's not about losing money or failing. His biggest personal fear? It's losing his ability to learn. Just the pure joy of discovery, of figuring something new out, that's the thing he values most, and the thing he's most afraid of losing as he gets older. And that really brings us to the single most important thing. When you boil it all down, what's the one behavior that he says is behind all his success? It's a simple idea. Just being a student all the time, constantly questioning what he thinks he knows and always building his understanding. That, he says, has been the key to absolutely everything.
So you see the journey, right? From this young maniac totally obsessed with code to a lifelong student trying to solve the world's biggest problems. The common thread is always that focused, driving passion. And it kind of leaves us with a final question to ask ourselves.
What's the one thing we're willing to be a maniac about?